I was 15 when it happened. I was at a free party, taking loads of K, so I was a bit out of it. And it was someone that I knew. It was one of my friend's brothers. Just sort of dragged me off into the forest. Did it. I didn't really process it or think about it. I didn't tell anyone for years. I think the first person I told was one of my friends when I was 18, so I didn't say anything about it for 3 years. I was angry. I was going out, taking loads of drugs all the time. I'd kick off for no reason. Like, I didn't really put two and two together until I started talking about it with more and more people. And it was funny, the more girls I spoke about it, the more I realised how common it was within my group of mates anyway. And I think the worry about saying anything to anyone was because it was in my group of friends. I'd seen people in my school say certain things that guys had done and then just get slammed for it, get shamed, like no one would believe them. They'd end up getting the stick, you know what I mean? And so that sort of puts you off wanting to say anything, which is a big regret of mine now. Like, I really wish I'd reported it at the time, because, you know, God knows what else he's done. I mean, I think I was ashamed because part of it I thought, oh, well, if I hadn't have got so off my face on K, like, there was a lot of internal guilt and self-blame that took a while to process. So I think that stopped me a bit as well, because I was like, oh, well, was it really great? Like, because I was just so, like, I put myself in that situation. And then only when I started talking about it with mates was I like, no, that was 100%. Like, I had scarring from it, which caused me a lot of problems in relationships, with having certain parts of my body touched, and that would cause problems. And I wasn't able to like tell the people I was with why, because I just couldn't. I just repressed it for like 10 years. Just really couldn't like process it all. It affected the way I coped with it. Was I turned to drugs and drinking just to sort of block it out. I didn't bother with school. Or I feel like I'm in a good position now. I've got a decent job, and I've got a good life. But I mean, it really affected my mental health as well. Caused me a lot of anxiety, which I still struggle with, which I think stems from that. I mean, I've had some therapy for it and stuff now, but it definitely, my life would have been, I think, completely different if that hadn't have happened. I don't think it was widely spoken about when I was, because this was 15 years ago it happened. Like, I wasn't well versed, like, I didn't know much about it. It wasn't spoken about. I was never taught about it. Like, the things that I did know were very like black and white. And I think if it had been spoken about more and more of a conversation had, like what's going on now, then I would have felt more comfortable. There would have been a safer space for me to have voiced what had happened and how I felt. I'd only had sex with one person, and I was in a relationship with that person. Do you know what I mean? It was still like new to me anyway, sex. Because of my age, I don't think I had the confidence that I would have had that I had now. But also, if I had more knowledge on it, I assume everyone else would have had more knowledge on it, so I wouldn't have been worried about everyone else being told that I'm lying. And like, police didn't really investigate. What is it, like 75% of these cases, like, or more? I'm not sure, but it's like a massive percent of the cases they don't even bother investigating. Would it have just made me feel even shitter? Yeah. But if I had been more aware, then yes. And I feel like if I had been more aware, then everyone else would have been more aware. If it was spoken about more, then I would have felt more comfortable saying something. Sure.
How old were you when it happened?
15.
15. And it was one of your friends' brothers.
Yeah.
So it was like a massive betrayal of trust.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't really like, I didn't tell my friend. I didn't do anything wrong in that situation, but for some reason I felt bad knowing it and not speaking to him about it.
You almost take on the kind of blame.
Yeah.
And you feel like it's your own fault.
Yeah, for sure. If I hadn't have done this, if I hadn't done that, like, then it wouldn't have happened. But obviously, that's complete bollocks. It's their actions.
At 15 years old anyway, like, you're actually not old enough to consent.
No,
So,
no, not like in sex. Like, I couldn't fully like enjoy it, or it'd be in my head, or it'd all be about like more about them than it was about me. Like, I wasn't thinking about my pleasure in it. I couldn't really be touched where I had the scarring, which was in fairly intimate places. So that was always a tricky one. And it would be confusing for the other person because they're like, what? Why does she freak out when you touch her there? Like, but I can't explain why to them. I just freak out, and then it's just a bit weird, a bit of an awkward situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was in 2 long-term relationships just after it happened, and it definitely had a massive impact on that. A massive impact on how I trusted men. A massive impact on the intimacy that I had in relationships, like physical intimacy. And I think it's confusing for them as well because they don't really know what's going on. Like, because I was repressing it, and then I just get like outbursts of rage for no reason, or I'd get like jealous, or it's like when you squeeze something with water in it or something like that. You squeeze it hard enough, and it just comes out in these random ways. You know what I mean? And that's what was happening. Once I started talking about it more openly, I think now I'm really open about it with people.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, when I was younger now, I don't think I did felt like I feel like I needed to explain myself. I feel like I really wanted to, because I was like, I'm like, there's a reason why I'm like this. But at the time I didn't really know certain behaviours because of that. It's only looking back and like, oh, that makes sense. Pretty much every one of my girl mates has had some sort of negative sexual experience with men, but I've got so many close girl mates who've been raped in one way or another, and it's just mad how many people it's happened to, and everyone deals with it differently. Like, seeing all the ways they deal with it, it's really wide spectrum, grey area. There's so many different types, different ways it can happen in relationships, it can happen with friends, it can happen with strangers, it can happen, you might not have said no, but you still haven't given consent. You can be made to feel like you have to do it. It can be like, you could be almost like tricked, isn't, you know what I mean, but like coerced into it without really realizing until after it's happened, and then you're like, I didn't actually want that. I felt like I was manipulated into that. Especially when you're younger, and back in my day, everyone would be like calling people frigid and shit like that. Like, there'd be pressure on that. Yeah, I think it's mad, and I think people need to be more aware that it's not just getting dragged off of forced sex upon. Like, there's different ways it can happen. They'll get worried to change their mind halfway through because they feel bad that they've already committed to it now. Like, you can change your mind at any point. It is your body. I think it just needs to be spoken about more. I think people need to be educated on it more from people who've had lots of different types of experiences, so that there's a more of a well-rounded understanding of what rape, non-consensual sex is.